future. But then Sierra Leoneans had over-relied on the mineral resources in the country, especially the gold and the diamond, forgetting the fact that these are non-renewable resources. And in the case of over-exploitation of these resources, what do we do? This is where poor governance comes in. A government that is, governing well and thinking of the well-being of its citizens, would have had a plan B of setting up lots of industries and sustaining them, going into large-scale mechanization farming.
Caroline, yes, that's true. That goes into having... Yeah, that goes into actually saying that we have to look from within. We have to have smart leaders visionaries who are going to, create the changes we need for the future. Well, it's good, guys.
I think that we can get we would be able to manage our economy from the foreign exchange we get from the gold and the diamond. We may be anyway, but then what about the corrupt officers we have?
Yeah, I'll just give it. Yeah, that's true. I agree. But I'll just give a joke, ma'am. What my son said to me when I took him down to Africa a while back. We normally go to parties or go to functions to talk about our diamonds, our mineral resources. And when you got there, my son actually disappointed. He said to me, "Daddy, why you've all got all these minerals and you guys are proud about it? Why is the country in this condition?" It was tough for me to explain, but I managed to blame it on the war and say, well, our leaders as well had a part to play in it. All right, guys, we'll go to part 3 of this question 3 of this part. I'll go straight to the question. Since we've had independence, African countries have been engaged in civil wars. We all know what happened in Sierra Leone. It's not only in Sierra Leone, it's happened all over Africa. Quite recently, there's one in Mali as well. This is about social interactions within African countries, how what we need to do to interact well within our country. On Facebook, we saw over the last couple of days, people are actually tribalistic. Most posts are about tribes, which tribe is. All this is not good for our interaction. In your opinion, guys, what do you think have been the most negative impact on our socio, economic, and political structures of Africa? To take a specific country, I would suggest we look at Sierra Leone. I'll ask Caroline to answer this.
Thank you, Charles. I think socioeconomic and political development begins with people. People being recognized as members of a nation they belong to. Because the non-recognition of members in a nation and also the exclusion and marginalization of members, especially the youth. And also we have corrupt officials and people craving for power and holding on to power has had great impact on these structures. And in some places have even led to civil war. We have also ethnicity, people belonging to their ethnic groups, especially if we have a leader who is so much ethnic conscious, then we'll have problems.
Well, yes, thank you, Caroline. I think thank you very much. I think we saw it in the last election as well. It was clear that the SLPP were Mende. They were even labeling them as Mende Party. And it was clear that the APC were in the north. And there's a big divide now in the country. You actually draw a line about where the voters, the sympathy of the voters are, and that is not good. We have to go beyond that, beyond tribal sentiments when we cast our votes. Even suggesting we do what is called tactical voting. This 4-4-4 wasn't good. If we got the APC parliament and maybe probably more SLPP APC government and more SLPP in parliament, I think will have helped us. But we have what we have, and we're going to put up with this for the next 4 years. Hopefully, in the next election, people will be smart about how they vote in and how they actually form our government. Next question is for Safa.
Okay.
Oh, same question for you, Safa. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say it comes back to dependency. Even in terms of carving out our own institutions of governance, we look back to what was handed down to us. after the civil war in Sierra Leone, we had a great opportunity because the first elections that we had in 1996 was actually held on a proportional representation system, and we saw more ethnic diversity in that election and the following election. But once we switched back to the single-member district system, which we have, and we then saw that ethnic configuration again between, one party representing the southeast and the other representing the north. So we have to go back and we have again to be imaginative and be creative in terms of, fashioning the institutions to our own societies so that everybody can be represented. We have to look at what is really meaningful when we create these institutions. We don't just have to say, okay, people say, let us have a multi-party system and let us have this, and we don't look at the theoretical foundation. And this is also the responsibility of the intellectual. It's a huge responsibility, but those of us who are intellectuals have to rise up and look at our societies and come up with solutions, creative solutions to the problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Safa. Does anybody else want to say a few words?
I will just say that, the question of, yeah, this is Zuba. At independence, this is what Sir Milton said on the eve of independence. It's Independence Day address. It's like life will continue. Independence will not result in any change in your life. Life will continue as usual. The institutions of state will function with the same justice. Now imagine, the state that was created was a colonial creation, created not for the people of Sierra Leone, but to serve the interests of the British that created it. And on the eve of, on the day of independence, the leader of the country is saying, oh, nothing is going to change. We'll just continue with the same system that has been handed to us. That remains the problem. For me, all of the problem that we have in African countries boils down to two things. One is the failure of the post-independence and political project to create a viable state. And now the reason for why that happened, why we failed to do that is debatable. And we just have some of that debate in the sense that there is history, there is the way in which the internal and the external interact, the problem of leadership failure and all of that, there is that. But the fundamental question for me is, or the fundamental issue has been the failure of the post-independence state or political generation to create a viable state that serves the interest of its people.
I think Zuba, you've now moved into the to Amy's and Safar's argument actually that we have to look.
I didn't. I'm not moving. This is the argument that I've been making all along. That how the internal political dynamic submits to the external. But the way in which we like to just dismiss, oh, it's our fault. I am saying that no, it's more complex, it's more complicated than that. And the question is, I am not arguing for what led to the failure of the post-independence project. I am saying that whatever argument you want to put, there is a reality that the post-independence project failed to create a viable state. Now, you could say it was external reason, you could say it's internal. But the second is then the question of citizenship, social citizenship. What kind of state do we have? How do members of the political community relate to that community? Do we belong to Sierra Leone because we were born there, or do we belong to Sierra Leone because Sierra Leone or Ghana or Guinea is able to create for us the condition and life that we are proud of? So, and these are the kinds of questions. So if you look at civil wars, if you look at political instability, the question of poverty, the question of citizenship is really embedded in that.
Okay, thank you very much, Zuba. I think what I've seen there is you're still in it's a twofold problem. We need to address both. Guys, thank you very much. This is the end of part 2. We're going on a short break. Listeners, we'll be back with part 3, where we'll be looking at the way forward. What do we need to do to step up? We're back in a couple of minutes.
This is the Sierra Leone Diaspora Radio Network.
With that, it's mostly to do with what African leaders are doing. We have to question that. We also have to question the role the international organizations, other foreign countries are playing in keeping us where we are. We know there is bribery, there is nepotism, there's corruption in Africa. But we also know that when they do come out to do negotiations, they don't always fare well. In Sierra Leone, we don't have any shares in any of our mining companies. That's absurd. I told my friends the other day, and they were laughing at me. They couldn't believe that we could actually sign contracts, and we don't have shares in them. I'll go straight toward questions and pose some questions to my panelists. We're looking at the vision of the OEU. Of the AU, guys. We're looking at the vision of the AU, the African Union, that was formed after the OEU was banned. We've spoken briefly about it in the previous segment. We've also known now that the AU, the new vision for the AU is to develop Africa in terms of technology, the economy, and also try to facilitate integration within the African continent so that we don't have any of these silly wars and actually we could do better trade amongst ourselves. Probably one day we'll have something made in Africa or made in Sierra Leone. Emil, I'll go straight to you. Emil, what do you make of the new vision of the AU? How do you see it benefiting Africa and its people in the long run?
To talk about the AU and Africa, the AU has failed Africa basically, and we're seeing. But one thing that we need to look at is people of Africa need to look at the human resource, which Africa has failed to tap into. We're talking about our mineral resources. We're failing to tap into our human resources, and we need to know that the West is looking at how to exploit Africa. The same thing as the corrupt African leaders. It's about how much they could gain from Africa's